Right now, I'm going to give you a comprehensive road review of the Porsche Cayman GT4 RS. It's extremely stiff, extraordinarily loud, and you can't see out of it. So, not ideal then. Right, well, with that out of the way, let's see what it's like on the racetrack then, shall we? The GT4 RS breaks all previous boundaries for the Cayman in terms of performance and price. You're looking at around $335,000 base, with this car a tick under 380 grand as tested, and that's before on-road costs. It doesn't really have any direct rivals, though in price and performance its closest competition is probably the 911 GT3, except the cheapest one listed on carsales currently is almost $600,000, so that's out too. So let's not worry about rivals. I was also a bit hyperbolic in the intro. The GT4 RS actually rides pretty well for what it is. The noise is at least mechanical rather than just exhaust drone, for instance. But regardless, this thing is designed for the racetrack. So let's take a good look at what makes it so fast and expensive, and then we'll go and do some laps. And then some more laps, and then some more laps. Let's start with the engine. Ever since the Cayman came out almost 20 years ago, the question has been, when is it going to get the 911 engine? Porsche kind of gave us this with the Cayman GT4, but that was based on the 911 Carrera engine, whereas this is the proper unit from the GT3. 368 kilowatts, 9,000 RPM, 0 to 100 Ks in 3.4 seconds. Weight is down to 1,415 kilos, and if you option the $33,000 Visac package, like on this car, you shed further kilograms thanks to the titanium roll cage and magnesium wheels. Sadly, supply issues mean this car lacks those magnesium wheels and also the standard Michelin Cup 2 tyres, but more on that later. The brakes are a straight lift from the 911 GT3, 408mm discs and 6 piston calipers at the front, 380mm discs and 4 piston calipers at the rear. Last but definitely not least, we have the Aero. So the front splitter and rear wing can be adjusted through a number of different settings, but the whole body has effectively been designed to move the air around to where it's needed most. So underneath the body, there are all sorts of fins and channels to help the diffuser out, but if we take these wheels for instance, these go round and round and round and chop up all the air and are terrible for aero. So we've got these guides here that send the air around the wheel, then we've got these vents in the top that suck the air out of the wheel wells, and then we've got these vents in the bonnet that take the air that goes in through the front and send it around the body to reduce drag and increase downforce. The interior is a pretty basic environment, but you do still get Porsche's infotainment system with Apple CarPlay that's very easy to use actually, a Bose sound system, and you can even get heated seats. But let's drop these harnesses and take this thing for a drive. So let me tell you everything you need to know about why the GT4 RS is an absolute weapon. Alright, welcome to Phillip Island and one of Porsche's most exciting ever performance cars. Already you can tell that this is like no other Cayman before it, because no Cayman ever had this amount of grunt, all this noise. I don't even know if you can hear me. The GT4 RS is a whole different ballgame, because I've been lucky I've even driven the regular GT4 here at Phillip Island, but Caymans always feel like they need more grunt. They're fast cars, but they're always like, oh, this chassis is so good, we could use even more. And now, it's got it. So let's talk about the engine, because we've started with that, and as you can hear, it kind of dominates proceedings a bit. It's familiar, obviously, from the GT3. It pretty much feels exactly the same, and that is by no means a bad thing. Being naturally aspirated, it takes a while to get going, but it just keeps on going forever. Now we're in the sweet spot, 7. It just gets more and more feral, 8, 8.5, 9, new gear. 220, 230, 240, grab 6, 250, and into turn one. What a motor. Finally, Porsche has given the Cayman the engine it deserves. We'll talk about the noise a bit because it's pretty wild. Most even supercars, loud performance cars, I can barely hear them when wearing this helmet. But this feels like I've got nothing on at all. You can feel the noise. It actually, like, it's vibrating through my body. Is it too much? On the road, probably, yeah. Here on the track, it's absolutely phenomenal. There's actually a button down here to make it even louder. Why? What's the point? Why would you ever press that button? Gearbox in typical Porsche fashion, sensational. You know, some people will go, oh, I want a manual, but it's not the modern RS way. This is the car for going as quickly as possible on track. Bang. Shifts are instant. The gears are quite long, but once you get up in the gears, 5th, 6th, they're a lot more closer together. They're more closely stacked. And here on track it works brilliantly. That's another advantage of this RS over the regular GT4. They've had long gearing, especially the manual. So on track it's still okay. It's more of an issue on the road, but having such tall gearing makes the car feel slower. It means it doesn't labour, but it takes some of the excitement out of the car, whereas normally you'd be going bang, 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 bang through the gears. Whereas this has the grunt to pull the ratios without any drama whatsoever. Just listen to this thing. It is an absolute weapon. You know, there are faster cars out there, but man, you have to be pretty spoiled not to be impressed by the speed of this thing. The other thing about having nearly 500 horsepower on tap is that now you can power oversteer a Cayman. And that's not something you've been able to do much of before. Alright, that's the engine. Engine gets a big tick. What a weapon. Now let's talk about the chassis. It must be said, one of the reasons I can power oversteer this GT4 RS so easily is that it's on the wrong tyres. The Cayman GT4 RS should be on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s. They're the tyres that come standard with the car, but for whatever reason, I suspect the fact that Porsche couldn't get a new set, it's on Pirelli P0s. Not Pirelli P0 Trofeo Rs, which are the sort of Pirelli track equivalent, but just regular P0s. As a result, it is squirming around quite a lot. So the usual precision, I'm having to sort of guess a little bit about this car's ultimate potential. Especially in these fast corners, I turn in and there's a bit of imprecision as I can feel the tyre sliding. And it's not really a track tyre, and you can feel it. Changes of direction, under braking, I'm getting into the ABS earlier. As I turn in, there's a bit of squidge, if that's a technical term. A bit of squidge in the tyre. Here we go, just sliding at the front end, I've got to wait. Whereas on the Cup 2, once it came up to temperature, it would probably be absolutely velcroed to the ground. So it is a bit of a shame that sort of I can't access this car's ultimate potential, but the flip side of that is, in a way, it's more fun. Because you can oversteer it purely on the throttle. And it is sliding around like that. But what that also tells me is that this thing is super friendly. It might look like a race car for the road, but it's easy to drive. I've got light steering. I've got tremendous feedback about what the car's doing. You can, when that tyre does start to sort of squidge and slide wide a little bit, I can feel how much it's doing it. This is unbelievable performance for a Cayman, even with the tyre handicap. There you go, understeer as it pushes wide, but so friendly. And And that's where it's got an advantage, I think, over the 911. Like the current 992 GT3 is an absolute weapon. And it has so much grip. But fundamentally, the Cayman is still easier to drive. It's just physics. A mid-engine car is easier to drive than a rear-engine car, no matter what they do with it. You still got to be wary of that weight out the back. Whereas the Cayman has a little bit of that, obviously. With the engine being in the middle rather at the front. You've got to be a bit careful of, you know, mid-corner lifts and stuff like that, but even though it looks quite intimidating, it's fundamentally a Cayman. It's fundamentally one of the most enjoyable and exploitable cars you could ever drive on a racetrack. Now I'm going to say something that might be blasphemous, might get Porsche fans up in arms, but I think I'd rather drive this than a 911 GT3. It feels purer, feels easier to, not necessarily easier to drive, but easier to get your head around because it doesn't have that 911 quirk, as good as the new 911 is, and that's absolutely fantastic, with a much stronger front end than ever before. This is just more conventional. And that won't be for everyone. Some people love that 911 feeling, but this thing is unbelievable. What a car. Did I actually mean that? Or did I just get caught up in the moment? Can the Cayman GT4 RS really be as good or better than a 911 GT3? Objectively, scientifically, probably not, but I think I prefer it. It's more exploitable, it's more adjustable, and to me anyway, that makes it more fun. It is an extraordinary amount of money for a Cayman, but then it's a pretty extraordinary car. Might have taken Porsche almost 20 years to get around to it, but it turns out that putting a proper 911 engine in a Cayman is about as good as driving machines get. Thank you for watching. If you've enjoyed this review, give it a like, subscribe to the Car Sales channel, and give us a comment down below with any cars you'd like to see us review.